And we have a go for auto sequence start. Discovery's onboard computers have primary control of all the vehicle's critical functions. Start, 2, 1, boost ignition, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery.
Welcome to the Launchpad. I'm your host, Harry Washington. And those of you just joined us, the Launchpad is hosted by Pursuing a Dream Corporation. Pursuing a Dream Corporation is a nonprofit organization that encourages students to pursue degrees and careers in areas of science, technology, engineering, and math. And today's focus is the state of education in minority communities. And our first guest today is Mr. Jesse Parker with the Seaward Academy. Jesse, welcome to the show.
How you doing? It's good to be here. I'm excited to be here.
Good. Tell us a little bit about the Seaward Academy.
Well, Seaward Academy, what we do is we go into classrooms, we set up science camps, and what we do is we create an atmosphere that's conducive to a student wanting to learn science, technology, and math. Because if you make them love it and want to learn it, teaching them is very easy.
Excellent.
Very easy.
Now, so what's the education, what's the philosophy that you guys follow?
Well, what we do is we do a Montessori approach.
Oh, excellent.
We believe in, each student has their own individual learning plan. So what we do is we base it where they are. So, you know, what we try to do is make it hands-on, hands-on learning, especially starting with our young students. We start as young as 3 years old, and we go all the way to 12th grade. Because when they're putting their hands on it, they may not read it now, but they're going to want to read later. As opposed to the school system, when they start with science, they start basically in the 3rd or 4th grade, and it's mostly reading. So I can't stand science because I'm reading. But when you do it with hands-on, reading's not a problem because now you want to know why it's doing what it's doing. You want to learn the background about it. So and that's what we do.
Is this more aftercare?
We do after-school program. We do a science program inside schools. We also do science summer programs as well.
Oh, excellent. Tell us about the programs that you do inside schools.
Well, what we do is we co-op with other groups. We work with after-school programs. We go in and we teach science. We go in, the first thing I walk into the room and say, hello, my name is Jesse Parker. And I say, for every action, there's a reaction. And then, what does that mean, Mr. Parker? I say, all right, rub your hands. So they start to rub their hands, and as they rub, I said, what's happening? Well, the hands are getting warm. So they say, well, and so I explain, so what's the action? We're rubbing our hands. What's the action? We're getting warm. That's science. And then we explain to them about friction and how things go. So we're inside classrooms. We also aid teachers in development of science, having them understand, you know, various techniques on how to reach people that look like me. Because, you know, our climate in our schools have changed.
Yes.
The dynamics have changed.
Very true.
So when they see us, they see different sides of us, not understanding. So I go in and try to mentor teachers as well as students to understand what kind of relationship, how to build a relationship so that the student can be successful.
How is that relationship when you go in and teach students, teachers about educating about the African American culture or any minority culture?
Well, the first thing I tell them, their job's not to teach English, math, science, music. That's not their job. Their job is to create an atmosphere that's conducive for the student wanting to learn it. And it's because, think about it, if you got a student that wants to learn it, how easy is that?
True.
And I try to make them understand that. We have to go to the root of where the student is. A lot of times we have a student that may be hyper, may be moving. It could be, you know, we know that African American males are naturally, you know, energetic. So we relate that to being bad. No, what you have to do is stem that direction in a positive way. Say, okay, if he's going to do that, I'm going to give him this to do while he's moving. You know, and as if you can motivate and shape that mind, you can then discipline that movement to stop.
Now, just in your opinion, why aren't African American students, males in particular, performing at the same rate as females?
There are a lot of things. One is it starts with the misunderstanding. So if a student you consider to be, I hate using the word bad, but someone that is disruptive, where does he spend most of his time? Outside the classroom. We need to stop sending them outside of the classroom because what happens is then they miss it. So by the time they get to the 3rd grade, they're realizing that they're so far behind. So now it's called a learning disability when really it was neglect. So we have to stop sending our children outside of the classroom. We need to find other ways of motivating them and stimulating them to want to sit and do the work. And that's why I'm talking about creating that atmosphere that's fun. It doesn't have to be work. You know, like I said, with science, if you put something clay in the hand, they can't wait to do science again. You know, so that's one of the things I talk to teachers about.
Okay. What about in terms of parent support? How much parent support do you get?
Well, in my program, I make it mandatory that you're involved. What we do, we have an individual learning plan for our students.
Okay.
We have social plans because, again, students are their social development varies from student to student.
Okay.
So what we do is, I have parents that mostly the single moms. So when they come in, I say, well, this is what I need you to do.
Okay.
You know, we'll write it down, say, these are the things that we think you and I need to be on the same page, because if we're not on the same page, his growth will be stymied.
Right.
So what we try to do is make them understand what their job is as a parent to advocate for their child, how to advocate for their child. So it's me coming in saying, okay, for example, I tell my son 10 times to put his shoes away. He won't do it. I said, well, this is what you do. You tell him one time, you get up, you put him, grab him by the hand, grab your shoes, baby. Walk him to his bed, put the shoes underneath the bed. And you do that. It's going to take a little more work, but what happens is you're teaching him to do it now.
Okay.
Then you can then give him 2 commands at one time.
Okay.
All right, pick your shoes up, put them underneath your bed, put your sheets up over your covers, or make your bed up, you know, so that kind of thing.
So what are you doing at 18? They're still not big.
Well, you know, that's when you take everything out of the room. You take everything out of the room, you throw a sheet in there.
Let them deal with it.
And then in fact, I had that conversation with a parent the other day.
Okay.
He said, well, how did you motivate your son to clean his room? I said, well, I'm a little different. I took everything out.
Oh, wow.
I took everything out. And it wasn't as a punishment, as to make them understand that these things we take for granted.
Okay.
So if you're not going to take care of it, you don't need it.
Right. Very, very true.
And so, you know, some people might say that's kind of harsh, but the minute I start putting things out, he said, Daddy, give me a chance.
Okay.
So I said, I'll give you a chance. And his room has been clean for 1.5 years.
How do you relate that to education when you have a African-American student or any other minority group that you're working with, and you know, you don't feel like enough is being put into that child in terms of the school system? What do you do?
Well, that's the thing. And what I do is I try to make teachers understand, and I go in and I say, look, and I'm just straightforward with them.
Okay.
We're in the business of not just teaching, but saving lives. Our job is to expose a child to as many things as possible so they make an educated guess about what they want to be.
Okay.
So it's our job as teachers to talk to parents, I mean, over and over and over again, to make them understand that having a house is not your greatest asset. Having a car is not your greatest asset. Your greatest asset is your child. And believe it or not, I talk to parents more so when they get to middle school and high school. It's because that's when they need them the most.
Okay.
And they say, well, no, he's old enough to make decisions. No, he's not old enough. She's not old enough. They're not mature enough to make some of the decisions that they make. So which 9 times out of 10, you know, not all students are going to make bad decisions. But what happens is you have to limit that because that's too much pressure. It's too much pressure on a child to make those decisions about, you know, where should I go, how should I go, what should I do. You need to be a partner in those decisions on what they're doing because, like I said, they're not mature enough to do it.
How does your program help students? Because they've done a lot of research that shown that students often have issues with making a transition, either be from middle school or from middle school to high school. How does your program help in terms of minority students make that transition to those different grades?
What I do from day one is I tell them, first of all, I ask them, do they have a job? And they, no, I clean my room, you know, no, I don't have a job. Most of them say no.
Okay.
And I say, no, you have a corporation. You have a corporation. They look at me, you are the CEO of your corporation.
Okay.
And you are your corporation. So I asked them, I said, what's your name? And I was Jesse Parker. I said, I am the CEO of Jesse Parker. You are the chief executive officer of you. Okay. And I'm explaining to them, it's like McDonald's. It's the most popular restaurant, most successful fast food chain in the world. They have marketed themselves so that they can be successful all over the world. So I say to the student, that's your job to do the same thing, to market yourself. So I hold them accountable, especially with young males and females, because they may not have fathers in their life. So I said, what I want you to do is look at me. Look at me. When you see me being disrespectful or not carrying myself in a manner that's conducive to what a gentleman should be, I want you to call me on it.
Okay.
Because I'm going to call you on it.
Okay.
So now they're looking at me. So they have an example.
Okay.
You know, so they know how to be a man a young lady will know how to pick out one. So, those things. So what I try to do is make them see positive things and look at positive things and look at them as great decisions and not decisions to say, well, I'm not with my friends. But you want to build those relationships with friends that are on the same level. You know, I had a young lady said, I want to talk to my mom about, you know, a boyfriend. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. She says 15. So I said to her, you know, I'm 50 plus years old.
Okay.
And I'm just going to be honest with you. And I held her hand like this and I said, I've known you since you were 4 years old.
Okay.
You're 15. And you're like a daughter to me. We've been through some mountains and over some seas. And she said, yes, Mr. Park, yes. I said, at your age, in fact, I said that you'll be lucky at 40 to find a man that's going to love you the way you deserve to be loved. And I said, there's a big difference between somebody saying, I love you, and loving you the way you deserve to be loved. I said, at this age, most guys don't know what they want, and all they can do is take.
Right.
And that's with friends, too. So what you want to do is you want to surround yourself with people that are going to make you better today than you were yesterday, and better tomorrow than you are today. And that's reciprocity. That's positive energy. And I said, why is it that we don't want to associate ourselves with being an A student and then hang around with people that are A students? I'm not saying don't be with a D student. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Okay.
What I'm saying is if you know there's a D student that's striving to be better, it's your responsibility to go back and pull them with you. We're in the business of building up, not tearing down.
Excellent. Now, what would you say, in terms of closing, what differentiates your program from other programs?
Well, our PRP program, the Psychiatric Rehabilitation Program, our partnership, we have a true partnership with every student and every parent and every teacher in our program.
Excellent.
That's what sets us aside from any other program. Okay. It's about making them understand this triangle thing that we have called life. It's a community. So in that community, we all have a responsibility to the children in our community.
In closing, any current initiatives, any future initiatives that you guys may have?
I'm looking for about, I better not say that, but my goal is to have a 3.5 billion gallon tank.
Okay.
See, but the real initiative right now is to make it so that students and parents understand that they are that their children are their greatest asset, and to make them understand the importance of how what we do and what we expose our children can change their lives.
Excellent, excellent. I would like to thank our guest, Mr. Jesse Parker with the Seaward Academy. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Launchpad. I'm your host, Harry Washington. Again, we're focused on the state of education in minority communities. And our next guest is Ms. Sue Rogan with the Maryland Cash Campaign. Sue, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Harry.
Now, describe your role with the Maryland Cash Campaign.
All right, well, Maryland Cash is a statewide nonprofit. The word CASH is an acronym that stands for Creating Asset Savings and Hope.
Right.
So we work with our partners across the state to help increase the financial stability of individuals and families in Maryland.
Okay.
And I'm the Director of Financial Education, which means I get to work with our partners and our staff around our financial education programs, such as classes, financial coaching, and staff training for organizations that would like to learn how to incorporate the conversation around money with the work they're already doing for clients. So if they're already providing perhaps energy assistance, well, maybe this is also a time to incorporate talking about budgeting or savings or financial goals while we're already working with the client and we have the trust with them. So we also do a lot of staff training.
Now, and these services are free, am I correct?
Yes, they are.
And also, you corrected me before the segment, you're in the state of Maryland. You serve the entire state of Maryland.
Right, we are a statewide organization.
And particularly Prince George's County.
Yep, and we're very excited to be with Prince George's County because there's a new coalition here that was started in 2013 to be a local group. It is government agencies, it's nonprofits, it's businesses that have all come together to say we want to help people in Prince George's County with their financial stability. And the mission of the coalition here, which we support and work with them on, is to increase access to free tax preparation sites, to increase access to banking and savings, and financial education.
Now, typically, Sue, what type of issues do you help low-income families solve?
So, you know, money's a hard thing to talk about.
Of course.
When's the last time you went to your neighbor and said, hey, I just reached my savings goal, you know, how are you doing with yours? You know, we don't talk about it. So what we're trying to do here in Maryland is to really get a buzz about trying to learn about finances. Because again, how do we learn about it unless it's a school of hard knocks?
Right.
So some people will get it in school, some people get it with their families. What we're trying to provide is a forum of where people can get information to handle their finances, all in a fact-based and credible way. There are no sales of products and services in any of our programs.
Okay.
So this is a real safe environment to come together to learn about money, and we can help people with a variety of different money issues, whether it's learning about money habits and values.
Okay.
You know, why is it that I know I shouldn't be shopping on Friday night or going out to dinner, but I do it anyway?
Okay.
Why is that? So examining, you know, what's behind our decision making, figuring out credit scores and credit reports. It's very difficult sometimes to understand what makes up your credit score and how you can increase the credit score, which will get you better interest rates, you know, on products or different loans that you might want to take.
Right.
It helps you if you're going to be in an apartment. People are checking the credit report for all kinds of different reasons now. So trying to help people understand what makes that up and how they can improve their credit or rebuild if needed. Also with figuring out how to create a budget. You know, making a budget is really a basis for successfully handling finances and reaching goals, but a lot of people don't know where to start. So we have classes and different programs that can help people figure out all kinds of different variety of topics around their money.
Excellent. Now, what is the criteria for families that want to benefit from your services?
So our financial education classes, and they're offered here in conjunction with the Prince George's Cash Campaign, they are free and open to the public.
Okay.
Generally speaking, the clients that we serve, particularly through our free tax preparation services, are low to moderate income. But our classes are open to anyone who would like to come learn about how to handle money.
Is there a specific in terms of price range? Well, money, and as you identify what's low and what's moderate. Is there a particular range that you look at?
No, there really isn't, and I would tell you that varies across the state.
Of course.
What's low and moderate income in one county is very different in another.
Right.
So it's just that people really have a need to learn about the different aspects of finances so that they can be financially stable and have choices in life. You know, we really believe that money doesn't make us happy, but it gives us choices.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to do, is to help people build their skills so that they can have that choices in life.
So how does Maryland Cash attract its customers?
So we do a lot of social media. We do newsletters. We work a lot with our partners. Again, I told you we have over 40 partners in the state. So here in the county, all the classes that are being offered in conjunction with Prince George's Cash Campaign, we put out a flyer every month and we send that out to our partners for them to literally put that flyer in their person's hand and say, here, it's a great class next week coming up on, you know, creating a spending plan, financial goals, why don't you go to it? So it is a lot of word of mouth and working with our partners to get the word out about the services.
And how does your organization define success in working with these low and moderate income families?
So you know what we find really successful is in a class, when somebody comes up to me afterwards and says, you know what, I'm so glad I learned now how to create a spending plan. I'm going to go home together with my family and create one.
Okay.
Those kind of moments are just where we know that we have had impact and reached people and changed the way that they're making their decisions.
Right.
We had a lady that we worked with for a very long time with coaching who finally said, you know what, I cannot continue to give my family, my mom and dad, money every single month because I'm a single mom living on disability with 3 children. I have to take care of my immediate family first and try to help the family when I can. So she made a decision change and that was actually able to benefit her family in being stable and trying to make sure that they were thinking about the goals that they wanted to set, whether it was paying for college or whatever. She was actually able to think about, now I can work on my goals.
Wow. Because, I mean, I guess my heart goes out to situations like that. I mean, you guys deal with them more frequently than not. Because the goal of our segment was focused on education, and that how many of those families experience these financial issues because they're trying to pay for education?
So there is quite a bit of issues going on right now, particularly around student loans.
Okay.
So parents are struggling when they co-sign for a student's student loan, and then the student gets out of school or doesn't complete school and cannot pay that student loan. The student loan is going to now come to mom and dad, and they're going to have to work through that. So there's a lot of issues around making sure that we're making wise choices in seeking education. You know, the community college is a great place to start, you know, both financially and educational. It doesn't, you don't have to spend as much to get, you know, the education there. So we really try to work hard to make sure we're educating people on, before you've gotten into student loans or chose your education, what's your salary range going to be when you get out? You know, generally speaking, you don't want to borrow any more than 1 year's entry-level salary for student loans. So making sure that we give the people the information that they need before choosing education to make sure it's going to work out for them.
Now, in closing, what are some of the new things that you guys are implementing?
Well, we're really excited here in Prince George's County to be launching My Budget Coach.
Oh.
That is a financial coaching program using an online tool that's called My Budget Coach, where someone gets to work with a trained coach once a month for 12 months.
Oh, wow.
So it's a long-term relationship that you're going to be able to work with somebody. They can support you on creating your budget and making sure you're sticking with it, along with learning financial content along the way. And we have 3 partners through the Prince George's Cash Campaign who are providing the service here in the county. So we're very excited to bring that. Some people can go to a class, take the information, and run with it. Some people would like a little more support in reaching their financial goals, and now we're able to offer that.
And that's also a free service, am I right?
Yes, it is.
How can people find out about it?
They can contact us at www.mdcashacademy.org. There's information on there about all of our different financial education programs.
Any final words, Sue?
We really just want to have people understand that if you don't feel comfortable or confident handling your finances, come reach out to us and learn ways that you can.
Excellent.
You can always improve the financial standing that you're in, and we're here to help.
We'd like to thank Sue Rogan of Maryland Cash Campaign. We've had them before, and you guys always do an excellent job.
Thank you very much.
We stay tuned. We have a very special video for you about our previous program that we just offered, the Career Choice STEM Bonanza. If you haven't attended, make sure you make a date to attend that program.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Vernon Gregoire, and I'm a financial technician at the Department of Agriculture in Beltsville, which is Beltsville Agricultural Research Center, which is under USDA. I've been working there for 8 years. The mission of USDA is basically to do research on high agricultural problems.
Hello, my name is Tamara Massey-Jones-Paul, and I'm a health informatics scientist at the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Hello, I'm Candace Rogers. I'm the Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admissions at Capital College. We're a small engineering and technology school in Laurel, Maryland. We have roughly 400 undergraduates, a 12-to-1 student-teacher ratio. We're the only private college in the state of Maryland dedicated to engineering, computer sciences, and cybersecurity.
Good morning. I'm Richard Cooper, and we belong to Civil Air Patrol. Basically, we are all volunteer organization. We are auxiliary to the United States Air Force. We have 3 missions: emergency services, aerospace, and leadership. Our latest mission was an F-15 pilot that went down. We are capable of doing ground team and an air side. We have a STEM program.
Space Telescope Science Institute. That's a fancy way of saying that I'm from a place where maybe some of you have heard of a very special telescope. Have you ever heard of the Hubble Space Telescope? Maybe you've seen some pictures from outer space of stars and other planets and galaxies. Well, we have a short kind of presentation today. Look and study those glasses, study these lights, okay? We're not using your glasses. I need some help. I need helpers. Raise your hand if you can tell me something about what you see here, just using your regular eyes. Yes. She sees different colors. What colors do you see? Oh, that's an interesting image. Now, I've got good news for you. When we're filtering out certain things, and the red seemed to filter out certain parts here that made it possible for you to see the message. Now.
Okay, so I'm teaching Tanya. I'll be that one today. I'm actually a student, and I'm learning chemical engineering.
Yeah. I'm Pavani. I'm also learning chemical engineering, and I will be a math scientist today.
My name is Science Simon. I am an inspired bioengineer, and I'm going to introduce some of the ideas today.
So none of that start forming. It's at the top. So it's the least depth of all. It has the stuff is far apart. And then oil. This oil is here. It's on top of the oil. It's a little more depth. Then you have these. They're right between the oil and the water. So where would the method start?
Okay, my name is Adrian Johnson. I'm a chemical engineer at Montgomery College.
And I'm Israel. And
Hi, my name is Prince. I am an animator and a game designer.
Hello everybody, my name is Dr. Agatha Lynch and I am a psychologist and a professor at Louis State University. Hello, my name is Tamara John Hall and I'm a computer scientist that applies to healthcare applications and I was previously an adjunct professor.
I'm Jesse Parker, I'm with Stewart Academy and I'm with STEM program, Science, Technology, and Economics.
My name is Richard Cooper. I'm with the Civil Air Patrol, and I'm also a pilot.
I've designed a lot of games. Actually, I'm designing one right now with some of my students for Android phones and iPad. To be a game designer, you need to know how to program.
We have to think about dreams and what do you want for your child? That's what I ask parents all the time.
So one of the things that we try to do, and especially with the STEM program, because and with Civil Air Patrol, because we are heavy into aviation.
I think in my undergraduate classes, I was the only Black female in all my undergraduate classes, and in my PhD program, in all my courses, I also was the only Black female and only the second person to get a PhD was a Black female from UCLA.
A need for young girls to stay involved in STEM. As you saw here and witnessed today, kids were excited about learning about these things. They saw that science is fun. And there's a lot of research that shows that kids in general are very interested in the sciences until they get around 4th or 5th grade, when the intensity of learning shifts, social circles become more important,